Johnny Depp breaks down in tears after people still believe in Amber. Johnny Depp is a wife beater. This is the verdict of the UK courts. Just writing that sentence feels genuinely shocking, and yet, by now perhaps, it should not. For a start, the allegation that he was physically abusive to his ex-wife Amber Heard emerged more than 4 years ago, after she applied for a temporary restraining order against him following their divorce, citing domestic abuse. It should also not be a shock, given how many other hugely famous men have been accused. However, it's different. He sued The Sun for defamation when it described him as a wife beater, something other famous actors would never have done. After the judge gave his verdict on Monday morning, Depp's notoriously active online followers made sure they got the predictable hashtags trending, all proclaiming Depp's innocence. Depp may appeal. The judgment is so flawed that it would be ridiculous for Mr. Depp not to appeal this decision, said a solicitor at the London law firm of Schillings, which represented Depp. But by now, most of the world has seen the photos of Heard's bruised face, and the court case presented a relationship that had become gruesomely toxic. The court heard recordings of Heard verbally abusing Depp and admitting to clocking him and throwing pots and pans at him. But none of that could change the fact that the judge, Mr. Justice Nicol, found the majority of Heard's allegations that Depp abused her proved to the civil standard, and that, therefore, The Sun was entitled to describe him as a wife beater. It was always risky for Depp to pursue this case. Next year in the US, he has a $50 million defamation case against Heard regarding an opinion piece she wrote about being the victim of domestic abuse. The verdict of this case will surely have some impact on the next one. But it's not just the judge's verdict that has decimated Depp's reputation. For a while, his life has been absurdly over the top. When he was asked in 2018 if it was true, as his managers alleged, that he spent $30,000 a month on wine, he replied that this was insulting, because it was far more. So testimonies about private jets, cocaine for breakfast, and arguments over, and perhaps the most memorable part of the trial, whether Heard or her Yorkshire Terrier and defecated in Depp's bed were titillating but little more. More destructive to Depp's career, and more dismaying to those who have followed him from the early days, was seeing how low he had fallen throwing phones at his wife's head, zonked out and covered in ice cream. So riddled with jealousy of Heard's male co-stars, he referred to Leonardo DiCaprio as Pumpkinhead and Channing Tatum as Potato Head, sending vicious emails and texts to friends about Heard in which he referred to her as a flappy fish market. Aside from everything else, Depp had always been unusually eloquent for an A-lister, with a courtly, old-fashioned conversational style. That was part of his appeal. Now view his lauding insults like a 6-year-old. Somewhere, amid all the drugs and the drink, Depp seemed to lose his mind. The popular belief in the favor of Heard has surely caused devastating damage to the actor's frame of mind. So much so that he was recently seen shedding a tear in apparent frustration and possible angst. As we looked at the photos of him, turning up to court looking like a self-parody in his always-present scarf and blue-tinted sunglasses, to argue over whether it was human or not, it felt horrified, of course, but also sad. This was not how it was supposed to go. To those watching, the verdict felt inevitable, Depp's trajectory less. For those who came of age in the 90s, Depp represented a different way of being famous. He complicated the narrative. Along with Phoenix and Keanu Reeves, he was part of a holy trinity of the few famous heartthrobs. They were the opposite of the Beverly Hills or Brad Pitt and DiCaprio, because they seemed embarrassed by their looks, even resentful of them. He would never put it like this, but Depp cultivated this enormous personal image. He decided almost from the start that he didn't want to be just a celebrity, but a cultural figure. He is known as a romantic. He was married briefly at 20, then developed a proposal habit, getting engaged to Sherilyn Fenn, Jennifer Grey, and Winona Ryder, whose name he even had tattooed on his arm, Winona Forever, which later changed to Wino Forever. Similarly, he had Slim tattooed on his hand for Heard. However, after their divorce, he changed it to Scum, then to Scam. Depp fans love Ryder. They made sense as a couple, and with her delicate gothic looks, she confirmed the image of him as a friend of the outsider. Fans were less pleased when he started dating a model, which felt a bit lame, but at least it was Kate Moss, and at least she seemed absolutely bananas about him, clutching his arm on the Cannes red carpet. During their relationship, he notoriously tore up a hotel room they were staying in together, causing $8,000 worth of damage. But again, we told ourselves, this was just his artistic nature. And it was the 90s. Destroying hotel rooms was what male celebrities did, right? Depp denies ever getting Heard, 34, who has submitted details of 14 occasions during their relationship when she claims he assaulted her. The court heard that after almost a month apart from Heard, Depp returned to the complex of 5 penthouses he owned in the Eastern Columbia building in central LA in May 2016 to pick up some personal effects. The couple had last met in April when they argued after Depp had been detained at a business meeting and arrived late for Heard's 30th birthday party. Sacha Was QC, representing the Sun, accused Depp of having lost his temper on that occasion when Heard criticized his late arrival. Depp replied, "I don't mind being criticized at all, but that was beyond criticism. She was lighting me up." Was suggested that at one stage he had picked up a Magnum bottle of champagne, and you threw it at Heard, and it missed, and glass smashed. Depp denied that he had done so. He eventually said he had texted his security team, who were outside the penthouse, and said, "Gotta go, got to get out of here." The dispute became more embittered the following day after pictures were sent to Depp showing excrement in their bed, the court heard. Heard insisted it was from one of their pet dogs. Depp claimed it was human waste, left by one of Heard's friends. Depp told the court that when he first learned about the defecation in the bed, he had thought it was funny and an oddly fitting end to the relationship. Was said he had made jokes about Amber Turd. Depp replied, "It was one of the most absurd, unexpected statements that I have ever witnessed in my life, so. Yes, initially I did laugh because it was so strange." When Depp returned to the apartment on 21 May, the dispute erupted again, the court heard. Was said Depp was stressed at the time because his mother had recently died, and, separately, he had lost a lot of money. Was suggested Depp had taken drink and drugs to cope with the stress. Depp disputed that. "There was too much to deal with on such painful and important levels, that I could not escape into any drug-induced, pain-free setting or numbness. I did not inebriate myself," he said, anticipating trouble. Depp arrived with 2 security guards who waited outside the penthouse, the court heard. He went in and a dispute began with Heard. Was accused Depp of bringing up the subject of defecation, but Depp repeatedly said Heard had begun the conversation. As the row escalated, they called a friend of Heard's who Depp alleged was responsible. Was said Depp grabbed the phone and threw it at Heard's face. "It made contact with the right-hand side of her face," she said. "Then you asked if she would like it if you pulled her hair back." To both accusations, Depp replied, "No, Mom." Depp said the security guards had run into the room when they heard Heard screaming, "Stop hitting me, Johnny." He added, "I was 20 feet away from her. When she saw them, she changed to, 'Now you will never hit me again.'" Depp and the security guards then left. A police officer, Melissa Seens, an expert in domestic violence, attended the Eastern Columbia building penthouse later that evening after receiving an emergency 911 call. Giving evidence over a remote video linked from Los Angeles, she said Heard had been crying but did not see any evidence of any injury on her face. Seens said her examination of Heard's face had been extremely thorough. She added, "I did get a clear look at her face. She refused to answer questions. She looked like she was flushed from crying." Seens said Heard had been uncooperative. Seens did not write up a report on the incident. The case was recorded as closed and deemed to be a non-crime. Seens said, "I searched the entire flat. There was no damage and there was no broken glass, nothing out of the ordinary." That's all for today. I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so that you never miss any amazing video from us.